Hello and welcome back to ELA with Miss Wardell. Today we are reading our final chapter. We are almost finished in this little book, Flat Stanley. Okay? So we're going to talk about the main problem in this story today. So make sure that you are listening. This is titled Arthur's Good Idea. Remember, Arthur is his younger brother, right? For a while, Stanley Lamb-Chop was a famous name. Everywhere that Stanley went, people stared and pointed at him. He could hear them whisper, "Over there, Agnes, over there. That must be Stanley Lamb-Chop, the one who caught the sneak thieves," and things like that. But after a few weeks, the whispering and the staring stopped. People had other things to think about. Stanley did not mind. Being famous had been fun, but enough was enough. And then came a further change, and it was not a pleasant one. People began to laugh and make fun of him as he passed by. "Hello, Super Skinny," they would shout, and even ruder things about the way he looked. Stanley told his parents how he felt. "It's the other kids I mostly mind," he said. "They don't like me anymore because I'm different." Flat. "Shame on them," Miss Lamb-Chop said. It was wrong to dislike people for their shapes, or their religion, or for that matter, or the color of their skin. "I know," Stanley said. "Okay, maybe it's impossible for everyone to like everybody." "Perhaps," said Mrs. Lamb-Chop. "But they can try." Later that night, Arthur Lamb-Chop was woken by the sound of crying. In the darkness, he crept across the room and knelt by Stanley's bed. "Are you okay?" he said. "Go away," Stanley said. "Don't be mad at me," Arthur said. "You're still mad because I let you get tangled that day you were a kite? I guess." "Skip it, will you?" Stanley said. "I'm not mad. Go away. Please, let's be friends." Arthur couldn't help crying a little too. "Oh, Stanley," he said, "please tell me what's wrong." Stanley waited for a long time before he spoke. "The thing is," he said, "I'm just not happy anymore. I'm tired of being flat. I want to be a regular shape again, like other people. But I'll have to go on being flat forever. It makes me sick." "Oh, Stanley," Arthur said. He dried his tears on a corner of Stanley's sheet and could think of nothing more to say. "Don't talk about what I just said," Stanley told him. "I don't want the folks to worry. That would only make it worse." "You're brave," Arthur said. "You really are." He took hold of Stanley's hand, and the two brothers sat together in the darkness, being, how sweet is that? Friends. They were both still sad, but each one felt a little better than he had before. And then suddenly, though he was not even trying to think, Arthur had an idea. He jumped up and turned on the light and ran to the big storage box where toys and things were kept. He began to rummage in the box. Stanley sat up in the bed to watch. Arthur flung aside a football, some lead soldiers, airplanes, models, and lots of wooden blocks. And then he said, "Aha!" He found what he had wanted, an old bicycle pump. He held it up, and Stanley and he looked at each other. "Okay," Stanley said at last, "but take it easy." He put the end of the long pump hose in his mouth and clamped his lips tightly about it so that no air could escape. "I'll go slowly," Arthur said. "If it hurts or anything, wiggle your hand at me." He began to pump. At first nothing happened, except Stanley's cheek bulged a bit. Arthur watched his hands, but there was no wiggle signal, so he pumped on. Then suddenly Stanley's top hat began to swell. "It's working! It's working!" shouted Arthur, pumping away. Stanley spread his arms so that the air could get around inside him more easily. She got bigger and bigger. The buttons of his pajamas top burst off. Pop, pop, pop. A moment more, and he was all rounded out, head and body, arms and legs, but not his right foot. That foot stayed flat. You can see the buttons pop, pop, in his flat feet. Arthur stopped pumping. It's like trying to do the very last bit of those long balloons, he said. Maybe a shake would help. Stanley shook his right foot twice, and with a little whoosh sound, it swelled out to match the other one. There stood Stanley Lambchop, as he used to be, as if he had never been flat at all. Thank you, Arthur, Stanley said. Thank you very much. The brothers were shaking hands, and when Mr. Lambchop strode into the room with Mrs. Lambchop right behind him. We heard you, said Mr. Lambchop, up and talking, when you ought to be asleep. Eh? Shame on. George, said Mrs. Lambchop. Stanley's round again. You're right, said Mr. Lambchop, noticing. Good for you, Stanley. I'm the one who did it, Arthur said. I blew him up. Everyone was terribly excited and happy, of course. Mrs. Lambchop made hot chocolate to celebrate the occasion, and several toasts were dumped to Arthur for his cleverness. When the little party was over, Mr. and Mrs. Lambchop tucked the boys back into their beds, kissed them, and then they turned out the light. Good night, they said. Good night, said Stanley and Arthur. It had been a long and tiring day. Very soon, all the Lambchops were asleep. Oh my goodness, I love this book. It's so much fun. Okay, so in chapter 5, what's the main problem that Stanley faced in this story? Well, it was just that he was flat, right? He was flattened. He was flattened. Remember what he was flattened by? That's right, a bulletin board. While he was sleeping. So even though as much fun as it was, he got tired of it, didn't he? He got tired of it. Who helped him solve this problem, and what was the solution? So do you remember who helped solve this problem? Whose idea was it? That's right, it was Arthur, his brother. His brother Arthur and what did he use? He used a bicycle pump, right? I know he says blow him up, but I'm going to use a word, and I'm going to say re-inflate. So re as a prefix means to do again, and inflate means to blow up. To re-inflate his body. Period. Alright guys, I so hope that you have enjoyed this book, Flat Stanley, and our short little novel read. You've done great this week. Thank you so much. See you next time. Bye.